Hello, my friends. Welcome to Listen to the Mystic in Hawaii. My name's Larry Grimm, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this, my Periscope, which I attempt to do every day at 10:30. Our neighbor's in the background there. He's doing some wonderful gardening work, so you may see him go back and forth, and that's just fine for him to do that. And just a little bit of, again, introduction and explanation. I'm a Presbyterian minister, but mostly I'm seeking to be a mystic myself. And so I'm inviting you on that journey. How do I listen to the mystic in Hawaii? And really, the mysticism is not something we acquire. Mysticism is something we enter into. And I've always enjoyed Van Morrison's wonderful piece called Into the Mystic. And I have used it before to introduce this this program. And if you want to look at some former programs, you'll hear it right at the first. I'm not going to use it today, but I do want to emphasize that this is not you listening to me, the mystic, but it's listening together to the mystic into which we both enter. We all enter together. So it's important for me to have your comments on the things that I read. I'm sharing those with you. One of the interesting things about mysticism is that people who are mystics claim to have a direct experience of the divine. They claim to have a direct experience of the totality of oneness. Every meditation practice in human experience has as one of its benefits an experience, an awareness of oneness. When you have sat in a garden or sat at the ocean side and meditated and reflected and contemplated the mystery and wonder of that experience in the immediacy of the moment, you can see yourself what is meant by that experience as a sense of oneness, a sense of being connected, of being related. So when I read these mystical writings from various people, it is in the hope that you and I will find that we are awakened to the oneness of everything, to the oneness of the universe, and that we are ourselves conscious that we are a part of, not apart from. Today, I would like to read from a fairly contemporary mystic. I have read from Hildegard of Bingen yesterday, from Hafiz, Sufi from Iran, from Rumi, Sufi from Iran, from anyway, so there's all kinds of mystic experience, people who wrote their mystical experience across various traditions. Saint Teresa of Avila was one that I read. So listen to these and ask, where do they touch you? What do they ignite in you? Trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. Hi, Pina Lokuts. I don't think I got that name correct, but hello. Say hello so I know who you're online and that I can greet you with aloha from Hawaii. Trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. Alan Watts. Alan Watts wrote during the 60s and 70s. He was part of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. He was part of the Beat Generation. And he and Timothy O'Leary and Allen Ginsberg. Hello from Poland. Thank you for coming in. I'm reading of mystics throughout history, welcoming you into the mystic. And Alan Watts was very good about saying who you are is is really nothing. And trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. What does that elicit in you? Hey, Philip, thanks for inviting your followers. We seldom realize, for example, that our most private thoughts and emotions are not actually our own. For we think in terms of languages and images which we did not invent. But which were given to us by our society. We think in terms of language and images that we did not invent, but were given to us from our society. When you seek to know yourself, and I think it's been a long time admonition or encouragement, know thyself. Who said that first? Know thyself. Probably goes along with to thine own self be true. But anyway, so to know yourself is a pretty challenging thing, because I think according to Alan Watts, we can never really know ourselves totally, and certainly can't talk about ourselves and who we are, or give definition to whom we are, the person that we are, because all that we have to work with is language. And once we move the mystery of being into language, we begin to limit it. That was part of the Taoists' understanding. The meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple, and yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. As though it's necessary to achieve something beyond yourself. Where does that compulsion come from? Is that really where you want to be with your life? Always doing something more than who you are? The meaning of life is just to be alive. Welcome, Akusia Outfit. Welcome. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for the hearts, folks. I'm reading from mystics in this program every day at this time, at least for the next week. And I've read from Rumi, Hafiz. I've read from St. Teresa. I've read from Hildegard Bingen. Did I get that correct? And this morning is Alan Watts, a more contemporary mystic. To have faith. You ever ask about faith? What's faith? Is to trust yourself to the water. When you swim, you don't grab hold of the water, because if you do, you will sink and drown. Instead, you relax and float. Give yourself to the water. Philip, you know what that's about, don't you? Floating in the water. Have you done it where they're talking with her about the waves, and she said, now here's what you have to do. You go into the water, you lean back so the water covers your whole head, and you pick up your feet, and you just be there. Just be there. How wonderful. And I think that's what he is talking about, is faith. Faith is surrendering yourself, giving yourself over to the water. What does that elicit in you? What does that bring to your attention and to your mind? I have invited you to listen to the mystic here in Hawaii, and not me, but to listen to the mystic as it unfolds to you and within you, as you hear words of those who have experienced the mystic in their own lives. What about change? What do you think about change? How do you deal with change? Are you comfortable with it, or do you go with the flow pretty easily? Have you had what dramatic changes have you had in your life recently? Alan Watts says, the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, join the dance. How do you deal with change? What changes have occurred in your life recently? What has been your emotional response? What has been your intellectual response? Expectations from others as we seek to find ourselves. Thank you, Laurel. It's a quest. It's a quest to find ourselves. And what we call ourself keeps unfolding, I think, right, Laurel? How do you deal with those expectations of others? They may be at odds in some sense with what Alan Watts has said we must do. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Death, dealing with leaving this life. That's the biggest change of all. Yeah. We have an anticipatory time, a time of anticipatory grief that's often full of sadness. I'm in Honolulu. Rice University. Rice Unsudi. Hello, welcome to everybody. I'm in Honolulu, and I'm recently arrived here. There is no sense of being an individual like when we encounter death, and that's the big change that one of the persons is facing, it seems. Of course, but anytime you are going through change, anytime we're going through change, we have a profound feeling of being alone. We have to do it on our own. We encounter what is coming to us on our own. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that we don't have support. It doesn't mean we don't have companionship. I have served as a chaplain in hospice care. And in fact, you lived here, did you? In fact, I just was hired yesterday to work in hospice care here on the island, in Honolulu. And I truly love it. I truly love that experience of accompanying people as they walk through this journey of letting go of this life. And it is a big deal to let go. One of the things that I was profoundly aware of, oftentimes people got to the end of their life and their family would come out of the room and say, you know, Mom's so strong. She's so strong, such a fighter, and she just won't let go. And I think, yeah, I wouldn't let go either very easily. I wouldn't let go either. Do not go, how does that phrase go? Do not go gently into that dark night. Rage against the giving up of the light, or something like that. And we actually want that of each other and want that of ourselves. Hello from Russia. Here's another phrase, another quote from Alan Watts here in the United States. Hey, buckaroo. You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. Now, you can't get much more caught up in oneness than that. What does that say to you? You are an aperture. You know what an aperture is on a camera. It's within the lens. Laurel, how does that touch you, Lorelei? Or Lorelei? Lorelei? You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. Does that mean that you're not an individual? Does that mean that your life is unimportant? What does that evoke in you? Back in the 60s, hello, welcome. The light, Laurel. The light. The light. Aperture doesn't work without light. And so the light is looking at itself. The light is exploring itself. One of the things Alan Watts said is that the light. Leah means light, I guess. Laurel light. One other thing that Alan Watts says, which I like, is that here in the Western world, we think of the cosmos as being mechanical. The light of my journey. Thank you for that comment. The light of my journey. You're not alone. You are guided. Alan Watts also says that there's a mechanical way of looking at the world, that we Westerners look at it mechanically. In fact, we think of God as being a great boss living up somewhere else, and that boss is directing things for us. And in some sense, we are more like victims. But he said in the Hindu understanding, it's more relational. Things simply are. We don't talk about, in Hindu worldview, talk about how things began. We don't try to figure out what the new beginning was, how things work. We live in the relationship, and it's more like a drama that we live. And the drama is God finding and playing hide and seek with the divine self. That God is playing hide and seek with the self through the universe. You're welcome, Laurel light. So the divine self is engaged, and it's playful. It's not a matter of trying to figure out, and not a matter of trying to manipulate and change things. I've been involved in social justice work through my ministry all my life, trying to change society. And in some ways, I can see how people of faith have changed society profoundly. But that's not the point. It's being and being involved. Through our eyes, the universe is perceiving itself. Through our ears, the universe is listening to its harmonies. We are the witnesses through which the universe becomes conscious of its glory and of its magnificence. The universe, the divine, is finding itself in us, and we become the means by which the divine, by which the universe discovers itself. Hello, Noons. Manoons. I'm not getting all these names correctly, but thank you so much for joining me. I'm reading from the Mystic